Welcome to this deep dive into the world of Java. Today, we're tackling Hibernate, an important tool in the Java Developers Toolkit. Hibernate is an object relational mapping, or ORM, framework for the Java language. It provides a framework for mapping an object-oriented domain model to a relational database, effectively bridging the gap between how data is represented in an object-oriented language like Java and how it's stored in a relational database. Now imagine this. You're working on a Java application that needs to interact with a database. You could write SQL queries directly, but that can become a headache quickly. Enter Hibernate. Hibernate lets you write your queries using Java, which it then translates into SQL. It's like having a translator who speaks both Java and SQL fluently. So, how do you use Hibernate in Java? Here's a step-by-step guide. Step 1. Install Hibernate. You can do this by adding the Hibernate dependencies to your Maven or Gradle project. If you're not using a build tool, download the Hibernate ORM zip file and add the jars to your class path. Step 2. Set up the Hibernate configuration file. This file, usually named hibernate.cfg.xml, tells Hibernate about your database and mapping files. It's where you specify your database URL, username, password, and other important details. Step 3. Create your entity classes. These are the Java classes that represent the tables in your database. Each instance of an entity class corresponds to a row in the table. Use annotations like @entity and @table to tell Hibernate about these classes. Step 4. Create the Hibernate session factory. This is a heavyweight object that creates session objects for you. Sessions represent a single unit of work with the database, and you'll use them to save, update, and retrieve your entity objects. Step 5. Use the session factory to create a session, and use the session to interact with your database. You can save an entity object by calling the save method on the session, and you can retrieve an object by calling the get or load method. And voila! That's the basic workflow of using Hibernate in Java. Of course, there's a lot more to Hibernate than just this. There are many other features and tools that you can use to fine-tune your interaction with the database. To summarize, Hibernate is an ORM framework for Java that makes it easier to interact with a relational database. It allows you to write your queries in Java, which it then translates into SQL. Using Hibernate involves installing Hibernate, setting up the configuration file, creating your entity classes, creating the session factory, and using the session to interact with your database. Remember, Hibernate isn't the only tool in the Java developer's toolbox, but it's a powerful one. It can make your life as a developer easier by simplifying the process of working with databases. So, the next time you're working on a Java application that needs to interact with a database, consider giving Hibernate a try. Thank you for joining this exploration of Hibernate in Java. Keep coding, keep exploring, and as always, stay curious.